Some of us need to move on with our day, and I don't want to hold you more than we have to. But just protocol, we are going to record the meeting, so if you could have your microphones on. And that mainly is because, per sunshine, the public, was invited. We did a public notice. We reminded them yesterday, and we don't want anybody that...
Turnout, too, didn't you?
Right. We don't want anybody that, might be upset that they missed it to miss out, so we're going to have a video to offer them. And it helps us in minute taking as well to capture everything. So thank you for that. I want to welcome you all. We haven't done this since 2011. The last time you met as a group to talk about the program was in 2011. And we've been watching the protocols that you implemented then, and we are ready to come back to you and find out if you want to proceed or make some changes. And Lorelei Barsh, who's new on staff, many of you I know have met her, is going to move the program forward for us based on this workshop and some of the internal discussions we've been having, so that the guidelines are strengthened and they're doing what you want them to do for the program. Okay, we have some thoughts about the way we've been measuring. We have some thoughts about the reach that some of the partners have made with the marketing plans that we've funded for them. So today we're going to propose a few things. I wanted to just real quickly review, especially for Jeff, who wasn't here in 2011. In 2011, what was implemented is listed on the little agenda I gave you. They decided that they were no longer going to fund sporting events from this committee and instead give $50,000 to sports development. And so on the spreadsheet that I created, you'll see the three green events that historically were funded by this committee. Well, one of them was new for a brief time there in 2012, are now going to him for funding. Likewise, if the Edison Sailing Center wanted funding, they've been directed to go to the Sports Development Office for assistance in marketing. So that was one switch you made. You also designated 25% of the budget at that time, which was $50,000 of the $200 that was available, to nurture as seed funding for new events. And on the spreadsheet that I've created, all of the events in white are current active events. So you can see in about 2010, 2011, we had some new events. The City of Cape Coral Coconut Festival, Captiva Holiday Village, Sanibel Writers Conference. They were all new events based on that component of 25% of our pot is going to go to fund new events. However, there wasn't enough. We didn't spend the $50,000, so we ended up shifting things around and kind of being loosey-goosey. And I feel like you guys today need to give us a direction on whether you want to do away with that division of 25% for seed new events and $100,000 for sustaining events. So on the spreadsheet, created events like Fort Myers Sand Sculpting Festival. What else was at the time, the Calusa Blue Way was considered a sustaining event. If you'll remember, Pam and Renee will remember, we had a rule that after 4 years we would cut the award in half. But in 2011, you didn't like doing that. We could tell. So in 2011, you implemented, if you showed strength through increased room nights, financial sponsorships, and increased media attention, we wouldn't cut. As a sustaining event, you could continue to get, and you've done that. Fort Myers Sand Sculpting Festival has continued to get a good chunk of the money. Blue Way, likewise, was 7 years old, but it stopped applying to this committee for funds. This year was the first year they did not come, and a lot of things have led us to believe that there comes a point in time when maybe an event has reached the goal that it intended. Like the Blue Way Festival, it was 7 years. The Blue Way was new at the time the first festival happened. It reached the goal of telling the world about the Blue Way Trail. Now they have applied for TDC funding through the Attractions Marketing Pot, and they got it this year. And they can focus on a year-round marketing initiative instead of a compressed weekend-long event. So these are the kind of things that have occurred with some of these events. That's why I wanted you to see the big spreadsheet. Some of them are not asking for money anymore. Some of them continue to do so. Some of the new, we try to nurture new events. We've gotten some. The average that we fund is about 10 a year. I think we have 9 right now currently that we're funding, which is okay. We don't have anything against that. We would love to see more events in the spring and the summer, and that really hasn't happening. So the end result today would be we're going to propose some changes to the program, and that might include doing away with that split, that 25% for seed funding and 100% for sustaining. Has it worked? We're not sure that it's worked because we didn't have enough new events applying, so we just ended up moving that piece of the 25% over and giving it to the sustaining events anyway. So kind of we created a rule and then we kind of went against it. So we want to kind of avoid that moving forward. So I don't know, before we move forward, if you have any comments about those 4 bullets on the spreadsheet. Do you want to continue with them? Do you want to do away? I think it's understood that Jeff will continue to get 50 and do what he does with it for his couple of his big events.
Talking 200K, right, basically?
Right now, actually this year, it was with Jeff's, it was 250. 50 of it went to Jeff. We had 200 this year. We used 150 in this program. And then if you remember, the last bullet is any remaining funds dedicated to the development of marquee events. And so 50 of it was used in the past few years, the development of Restaurant Week, which is in its 3rd year. And then this year, of course, the new one was the Alan Hopper Songwriter Festival. We invested some of the event marketing funds into that. Now, Tam and Laura and I have talked, and moving forward, we would like to propose the TDC ask for an increase in this program, but we feel like we need to tighten the guidelines and perhaps make it easier for our partners to succeed. We're not sure. It's very difficult for them to get room night reports. And as Laura can jump in any time, will allude, we've done workshops on collaboration and required them to participate in packaging workshops, collaborating with other nonprofits. The one thing we fell short on is helping them learn how to retain or go after sponsors better. That's one of the things we would like to implement coming the next fiscal cycle. We would love to have somebody come in and teach them how to go after sponsors, because none of them really are very good at that. And having done a festival ourselves this past year, our media partner was tasked with that, but it was not easy. and we believe that's going to make them stand on their own without relying on us for years to come, is to be good at getting sponsors.
You kind of alluded to this earlier. How is the $250,000 determined? Who determines that amount goes towards this program?
The TDC
It comes from marketing.
comes from the marketing part of the budget.
But it's been 250
Yes.
since I can remember.
What has it been?
I think so, right?
So is it under our purview to
Under
raise
the
it to
initiative,
whatever
right.
amount we want?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Always
Renee,
been
what
250?
No, it was because, you know what, because of Roy Hobbs. Sometimes we put it in, sometimes we took it out.
That
So
what
were
it
you
was?
saying 225? Is that what
I
you
thought
said?
225.
But what happened was.
And
because
25
we
went to
used
Roy
count-
Hobbs.
We used to count, we used to count Roy, like in and out, so the number seemed like it was shifting, but it wasn't. Sometimes we counted in and sometimes we counted out. But, what does SDO mean?
Sports Development Office.
Oh, that's when we moved to.
The green ones are now under Jeff's, with that 50, which I think we should continue to do, but we would like to make the money that you're dedicating to this, which right now is 150, and then there's 50 for our Marcom team to work with on these newer events.
So the 2014-15 proposal is for this coming year that we're in right now.
And you've already allocated that.
We already allocated
Anything
that.
you determine today is going to affect
Next year.
2015-16.
15, 16. I understand. Okay.
It's
So-
my little notes that I, on my chicken scratching here from last time, I put down sports competitive events, 25%.
Right. Of the budget at the time, which was 200,000.
Ah, see, there's my two.
Yes.
That's where I'm getting confused. And then seed money, 25% earmarked for 4-year
The first
bonus
4
points.
years.
Bonus points? We have bonus points.
We did.
Yeah,
It's in the
remember
criteria.
10, yeah.
If they got more points if it was a new event.
That's
If it was
what-
after 4 years, they got
that's what it
0.
was, yeah. And the leftovers to go to the ongoing events, and 50% of it were for ongoing events. So the seed money, anything that was left over from there, went into the ongoing events. So that's basically what we're saying.
Right.
And that's the follow. Okay. I just got confused on the 200 to 250.
But the caveat with the $100,000 for the sustaining events was that they needed to show a marked increase in room nights or financial sponsorship or gain national attention. And in the status sheet that we provide when you review the projects, there's not been a marked
Very difficult.
increase. It's not, we think that there's better ways to measure. And that's why we want to implement some new strategies for next cycle. So realistically, today we'll discuss it. We'll come forward to you January with a final plan to roll out, and the cycle will open in March for fiscal year 15-16 with those new changes in place, should you approve them. That would be our desire.
How are your applications going? I mean,
We had 11 applications this year, but 2 of them were ineligible because they did not quantify to us an out-of-area spend. They wanted to spend it locally. They didn't understand the program.
didn't
We
get
need,
through a point when we had difficulty getting people to even apply for
yes.
these things?
Well, and that's the other thing. You know, there is, people want to do events in season when there's lots of people here.
Oh, yeah, that's
To get them
easy,
to
yeah.
do an event in the summer, you know, it's not really, you know, perhaps, you know, there's a lot of ways to go with it. We want it to be, you know, your decision, so whatever thoughts you
I mean,
have.
has there ever been a discussion about a rule about not funding any events in season?
There
It's
used
in
to.
place now.
This,
It's in place now, but yet we still fund things like the
But
film
I-
festival.
Okay.
Well, the season is not the season, the real season, the dates of the season that we.
historically, the cutoff was Easter. Now, see, season's changing, isn't it, Jeff?
Yeah.
So that, again, that needs to be perhaps considered for this program. Is April a part of the equation? Is May a part of the equation? When,
Well, the film festival's in March, though.
I don't think it is.
We don't fund that one. We fund Fort Mary's Beach Film Festival.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm sorry, right. Yeah.
And
downtown.
also, well, and we did adjust it at one time because it used to be from the week of Thanksgiving, the week of Christmas through New Year's was never fundable. From January 1st until March 31st was not fundable. And then when the shift changed, where the season became a little later, and January really, the first 2 weeks in January were really slow for a lot of hoteliers, then we adjusted that out, and I think we allowed some events in January.
I think we did, yeah. The
Yeah,
whole
we-
month
we
of
opened to 'em.
January
I don't know if we had
sometimes
any,
isn't that
but
great.
we
No, I
opened it
agree
up
with
to-
you.
So,
I think that
yeah.
time frame is correct.
So as the season shifted, we shifted the allowable dates, yeah, so.
Right, and so
February,
that,
March, and through to Easter in mid-April, that's kind of when we, had a cutoff, and somebody does something in September, we reward them.
Yes,
Right.
yes,
Below,
exactly,
yeah.
yes.
But I have to say, there's a couple things we need to think about. One is, there was a time, that's how old I am, that we didn't do anything in season. Then we reached a point when, hotels were not getting above 70 or 80% in March because the economy tanked.
Right.
And then we overbuilt the market. Okay, nobody's selling out. The only people selling, truly, who's running 99% occupancy in January, February, and March? I don't think we ever say no. I don't think we should say no to any opportunity until we've looked at it, because it might feed a market like somebody who isn't on a beach, or might be out in in an area that doesn't necessarily warrant. Like, who comes downtown in March? Means nothing in downtown, nothing. There's only one hotel, but there will be 2. For you, does it make a difference?
Well,
I
think
know
the
your
problem-
rate's higher, but are you selling out every day in February and March?
No.
Right. So why would we not? I don't think season is what it used to be. We also had the most phenomenal year this year because of sports this year. People running 80% in the summer. Never happened. So now do we look at that? No, I think we look at everything because that's on us. We earn the tax all year round. I think we should look at it all year round. We may say no because it might be smack in the middle of JetBlue Park and holy cow, we don't need that in March. But do we? Until these hotels are telling us, until we're forcing people into Collier because we don't have rooms, I think we look at stuff. The other thing is, I think the reason we didn't get a lot of requests at one point, the funding it takes, we're only funding the marketing. But to start a new event 3 years ago would have been suicidal. Am I right? Unless you had complete sponsorship or funding for the rest of the package that goes with the event, we're only helping with the marketing startup.
and we have events that are in that.
Well, so I think that the economy being better, I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing more. People are starting to find capital, get sponsors, and think of new ideas. So I would expect that we might see more applications because the economy is healthier for everybody. But I have to say, the math is not working. I think I need to go through it. If we start with 250, correct? We give 50.
At the current time, when you implemented this criteria, it was only 200,000.
That works. So where are we at last year? Would we
250,000 is what it is now in the budget.
For
250.
214 and 215.
for what we just cycled?
Right. So 150 went to here, 50 went to sports development.
And 50
went,
was
I don't know,
right.
like 250.
Well, that's what I'm saying, because if it's 250, so 50 goes to sports,
Yeah.
50 goes to you. And 150, we then figure out what we would do with?
150 has been allocated.
Okay, I was like, 'cause that
Right.
wasn't
Right.
something wasn't adding up in
I
my.
had the same issue.
Okay.
So
Right.
we were still thinking, us old timers, we were still thinking 200, and I was looking at percentages, and I said, they're not working.
This is not, yeah, I was like,
Nobody's an
okay.
old timer.
This was written
There's no old
in
timers.
2011, and since then, Tam and Laura bumped
We
the
bumped it
events
up.
marketing by 50.
Okay.
I somewhat agree with what you're saying, but I would also caution that you want to reward people who do something in September as somebody does something in March. It might be a percentage of what they ask for.
Right.
And still help them get something started. And I know I don't do any, I'm one who's been yelling for years that we have to market in the winter as well as the off-season. Finally doing some of that.
That's what, it's kind of like we all,
But I was just writing.
point
emphasis will be
structure,
placed on
maybe
the-
you get less points in season, though I think we have to look at, but I would hate to say no just because of the date.
I agree.
Most phenomenal idea we've ever seen. Oh,
We-
sorry.
Because you want people coming in season to talk about coming back again with something exciting.
And may I just play devil's advocate? Because since we started Songwriters, we've been great partners with Charlie Barrow down in Key West. And he has seen, it's the best Songwriters Festival in the nation, if not the world. And his festival is dying because of, he has no place to put his artists anymore. That ADR is so high, hotels won't partner with him. They won't give him any in-kind rooms. So just beware that if we're trying to create longevity for events, we want to make certain that it will still obviously be most beneficial to the hotels. And if events are coming up that require hotel rooms as part of this, in season, I mean, if we think the issue with Island Hopper with South Seas, to be honest, they were in and then they were out because they didn't feel they needed it. So they still were very, very supportive, don't get me wrong, but I just want to make it clear that if we're in for long-term growth for these, I strongly recommend you keep them shoulder. It's just my 2 cents. Seeing what's happening to Charlie's festival, and he is literally, his festival is not
On an,
doing well.
he's, we have
Point
on an
taken.
island,
Absolutely.
and we can't, we know people and we can't get into those hotels, except for
I
Jeff.
mean, he lost, that island too has lost 15% of their inventory because they built for hotels, so that has hurt. a lot.
True, but over 18 years, think about what he was able to get as many hotel rooms as he wanted. Now he can't get any.
But you've got to understand too about hotels and about even the hotels in this market. The general managers are great and they would love to help you out, but they're not controlling things. There's few owner-operators in town that can say, okay, I can sacrifice. There's a lot of them that say, listen, there's just nothing, you're not going to get anything because I got to make a budget and so forth. And that's what's happening in Key West. All these corporations are now running these hotels. And so, guess what? Either you play or you'll find another person to do it. So the same problem happens here. The sports development or Lee County Sports Organizing Committee seems to do a great job with hotels and getting everybody to contribute. And so I think that you're right. Since we're not selling out all the time, I think most everybody will contribute to this stuff. And I agree that season is not as great, but I also think that it's important to have something here for people in season who are paying the high rate to do something exciting. So I see all sides, and I agree with you. We've got to continue to be great partners as hoteliers to make sure that we something back to seed the farm.
Like my thought was the 25% that goes to a new event. I think that's still the focus. If we don't use, then, but the language says if we don't use 25%, then we can shift it. And that way it's not,
Lost.
it's not going back, we just randomly decide. It's actually states, any funds not used here, or those funds go to you. It doesn't matter to me. Like, I know the funds will get used if they go to you. Like if we,
Yeah.
like if we put them in VCB, they're gonna get used by professionals who know how to use them versus sometimes if we put them in other.
Right, and you don't know what the
What a
end
great
result.
segue that is for you.
So can we plan to share, if you guys, we don't need to solve this today, but we would love to be able to revise this. So the piece, for instance, the piece of when we fund an event, the time of year, if we share our thoughts with you, we can do this via email. But by January or February, we need to have a plan. so that you guys can approve it at a regular TDC meeting and we can unveil the cycle. So,
At the end of the last events meeting, remember we had a little bit of a discussion about, like, some ideas about changing and that type of thing. And, one of the suggestions, because the co-op program is so smart and so strong, one of the things that we talked about at that time was maybe somehow tying that together. So I think Laura and the team kind of run with that a little bit, and that's what I was talking about, the segue. And so, I mean, I'm not trying to take over, but I think that it might be a good time.
sure, and so under new opportunities on your agenda, we feel like we need to put in place better indicators. Right now, you've been measuring how many room nights, and it's not been, the Sand Sculpting Festival went from 1,600 last year to this year, 2013 event, they reported 11,000 room nights. And they reported that because they asked the hotels, what was your occupancy during the event? That's not the question we asked them to ask. So we need to get the same answer from every person we fund so that you guys have good statistics moving forward. So we listed a couple of them on the sheet, the number of impressions during the marketing campaign. They're going to be, obviously they're required to post their event to our calendar, link sharing, and of course we've already put this in place, and that's where they meet with the Marcom team and we make sure that they've got a good plan moving forward. So
May I say
we
something
have
really briefly. We just want to address the growing need for editorial coverage as well as changing channels of media, emerging social channels. We just want to make it broader. We want to make sure that they're measuring something that counts, but also adding flexibility for them to take advantage of all kinds of marketing opportunities instead of simply traditional ones. Plus, as you guys know, of course, there are a billion ways to book your room now. So there's no, what good is counting something that you're never going to get an accurate count on? So we will be happy to work up KPIs based on what we do to benchmark them for the first year, and then attainable ones and good ones like attendance, to the event attendance as well as impressions, both editorial and social.
success with partnering for sponsorships. Important.
Yeah, exactly. And we're going to, with the co-op, which I think we can get to anytime you guys are ready, we'll not only be showing them how we do what we do, but how we count what we do. So that's really important as well. So,
Because we have to be really careful how we do, how we ask them to do their count, because we're still getting those license plate counts from Cape Coral, right?
Beach and Shoreline, yeah.
For Beach
We
and
asked them to
Shoreline,
do
for
that.
the, yes.
We asked them to do that about 15 years ago because we thought that there was a lot of like local traffic, and they still give them to us every year now. So we have to be careful what we
So
ask for.
do you want to show, we need to give credit to Justin on the MMGY team. He put together a draft of possible opportunities, and Laura's going to run through it with you. And what we'd like to propose is that next cycle, when we open it up, there would be an option for the funding partners to get an allocation that they can be reimbursed for their marketing plan if you approve it, but also some co-op opportunities through us that we manage for them, so we have control over the measurement of it. And we
Loved it, by the way. But I don't know how many people it drew as much as was it an added benefit for guests that were already booked. And I don't know how you would know that.
like,
Or locals.
The locals truly loved
We
it. And
have-
if I could tell you how many people I ran into that I knew in all three places, I'm like, you know,
This
I'll
is-
go
this-
anywhere, but
This
I'm
is why I
curious.
wouldn't be so quick to eliminate some kind of a room count. Some of these events we've seen, that we gave them more money than they ever took in. I mean, if we'd have just split up per room, the money we gave them for the event, they would have done better than what they actually made in room
we can
sales.
still ask that, but I think we
Seen
need
it.
to ask
and
more.
I'm
the way
okay
we do
with-
it is
yeah.
a year-over-year benchmark. And it's really interesting because we're still, if we do a year-over-year benchmark of what it was before the event and then with the event, because we saw, even if 90% were local, Captiva was almost sold out that weekend.
Right.
And talking to Jeff Shupp, yeah, and we heard from actually West Wind that they had 15 walk-ins that Saturday.
We lie a lot.
Saying, I loved that. I'm gonna spread that live. I loved that but your team marketed so beautifully, really marketed it well. People did stay in hotels, and Jeff
just
Shuff is
curious.
going to come and talk to TDC next week to address this point. Yeah.
I checked in I went to the VIP night and checked in. I was putting stuff out on Twitter from the chamber. And somebody was following the Songwriters Festival. It was one of the little boutique shops at the end. And hey, while you're here, come visit me.
How
And she did it
smart
again the
was
next
that?
day. I'm like, how smart is she?
Wow.
Yeah, I was
Brilliant.
totally impressed because I'm like out there throwing stuff out, taking pictures, and I'm like, oh,
Oh my
no, like
gosh, it was
smart.
so,
But-
so,
but
social
then
media was so savvy with this event, and I believe it drove people exactly where and how we needed to
Got it.
drive revenue. Amazing.
Only got a ton of likes, and like not the chamber, like I'm out, I'm having a beverage. It's not chamber anymore. It's me. So it's like, but it was definitely people are like, what were you doing? Oh, I wish I had gone. Oh my God, what was that?
How many social impressions did we reach?
We're up over 28 minutes.
So by the time they get through with it, that'll be 75 walk-ins to your hotel.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Just some feedback. I thought that was
Thank
smart.
you.
My thought is wherever we do this next year, downtown looks good, by the way. Like
Yes, it does, doesn't it?
Doesn't it? Maybe we reach into that community, that's that concentric circle and say, if you're, like this was successful last year, and reach to those little vendors, because you would have buy-in, help to support the local economy in that way. Reach in and say, if you're smart, you will cater to this market this weekend. They don't know how to do that.
And that hands on the ground effort, when they see all the people walking around in the volunteer shirts, and now I'm looking at Amanda specifically, how many small business owners, especially on Fort Myers Beach, because we everybody on Captiva, on Fort Myers Beach, did we meet? Did we have the DC Evening Festival? Did we get information from? Like that kind of grassroots, even marketing for our organization, I don't know that it ever happened before, and it was wonderful. It was really, really good. So you're right. I think it's a way of spreading the great work the TDC does, the great work the VCB does. When you're sending out all these ambassadors, it was really nice. And we think it was impactful. We'll be reporting on, we certainly saw web metrics. Do you want me to give you a little preview on that?
Sure.
Oh my gosh, no, I'm thinking about the JetBlue and the Chicago Art Project. We don't have
the
it.
report yet. We should have it.
But do you want to show the video?
I do want to show the video. I want to, one more thing on this grassroots reach and how we're reaching people. I believe maybe next year we can also do a better job of marketing the opportunity that this grant program provides. There are so many local organizations, and I know that when we hosted the Arts Breakfast, who are actually doing things that could be packaged in a way that it's a festival, that it's a special event, that it is an annual thing when we need it, and they're not even considering that what they're doing already could become a very special event. So I would like to see us as a team begin more to market the opportunity that this provides. We're doing a lot, but I think we can do that a little more, perhaps than we have in the past, to encourage more and more people to apply for this program.
I think that's a very valid point, and all of us see these little events, like in happenings, or just whatever we happen to be looking at and seeing these events. Maybe we all ought to be a little more cognizant of that and just say, hey, let's send them some information. Maybe they don't even know this is available.
Right.
And so that might be something for us to really pay attention to, just to help encourage that program. Yeah, especially now, like in the summer.
Right.
So one thing I should interject, because you mentioned the Arts Breakfast, many of them in the room that day get the attractions funding, and or that you could get one or the other. So many of them would love to do an event on top of doing the marketing that the attractions funding provides for them. But that's, and some of them have said to me, when is the TDC going? Only one pot. Well, no, they have.
They're not asking us.
No, they've applied for both, and I've had to send a note. You've got attraction money, so your event application. I mean, if you guys, that's another thing. If you want to open that up, some of them are really good organizations, and they do a good job. But because we have that,
Don't we have Whistlebridges handling that attractions
Yeah,
business? We just give them the money and we can stay
but I
out.
still sit on that. And but the only problem I have with that is these are small organizations in most cases that are looking for this, and for us to to fund that, and what we talked about, like the double dipping, and for us to fund 25,000 there and 15,000 here, and it's a small organization. I don't know. I think our idea was to kind of spread the money a little more and spread, because there are so many worthy organizations. And a lot of the smaller organizations really don't have event staff, can't do event stuff. And so they really need to be in that attractions marketing program. And it might, diminish the, amount. I mean, not that we've ever had so many applications, but we do get more applications there.
Oh, yeah.
A lot more
30
applications there
probably.
than we do in this.
What does that fund?
It funds year-round marketing initiatives. So if there's an event, they're asked to come to this pod, except for a few events that are,
That without an overnight stay, they would go to like attractions.
They would,
They
but
could.
they don't really do that.
They don't
No,
wanna
but
do
there are
events.
some things like,
Art Fest is an
in the
example.
season.
It doesn't fit in this box because it's in season, in February.
So if we change
She's
this, that's
getting-
gonna open up a whole can of worms.
She's getting funding from the attractions marketing, so if like you were talking earlier about opening up the timeframes, she would fit in this program better.
Would we also be able to get that money back to put in the program?
And
Well, we
we
could.
just
I mean,
basically
we could vote
allocate
on
it
it
and
as
we're out of
TDC,
it,
but
right?
it,
Do every year on attraction.
We're up
Body
to
governing it. You wouldn't it be better to
250,000.
have one
50
body
there also.
governing everything?
So
Well,
between the two, we
weren't
got
getting
half a
any
mil. All right.
now that it's gone over, it's really good. I mean, it's a really different need-based operational funding there. And for these small, not-for-profits, that have,
We give money to that group. How much money do we? give?
250,000.
Will Breakers
Give them to-
runs it, doesn't Will Breakers running it for us?
Yes.
I mean, they get so many applications. I mean, we'd be sitting here for weeks trying to figure that. We basically subcontracted it out is what we've done.
it really is very organized and very well-run and
So, are we going to look at, what are we going to look at? Island Hopper or?
As Nancy said, Justin put together this deck, and since we last spoke about co-op, both the team here and the team at Illinois Supply has been thinking about how to best serve the partners across everything, education, impressions. So, you know that others are
you more applications, that's for sure.
Well, and we were thinking we would structure it this way. The cash would remain the same, right? The cash awards, whatever you chose to give them. But then we would flip the percentage co-op given on that. So the people who were funded the least, who generally need the most help, would get 20% in co-op dollars on top of the award they were given. So like a voucher for 20% of that. The people in the middle, we would give 15%, and the people at the very, very top, and we're thinking about events who have been around for a long time, who are savvier, would get 10%. What do you think? Right. What do you think? That's just for your consideration, of course.
No, I love it. I think it's great. I think you took just a basic conversation and turned it into something that really will make sense to a lot of people. I would also like to see, since it will be easier for those applicants who are, who decide they definitely want to go, I think that we should actually have like a two-part application. If you believe you're going to go for the co-op dollars, which is what we really want to encourage them to do, that it's a little easier application. For one thing, you're not, you don't have to fill out the page that says, how you're going to spend the money. Because if you are agreeing to use the co-op dollars, my suggestion would be sit down, like you get awarded the co-op dollars, but you don't have to say which program, because it makes more sense with you guys to say, you know what, in our experience, we think that this would be the best use of the co-op dollars for you. Now, granted, they don't have to go that way, but they'd be crazy not to. As a one-man band that does events, it would be so nice for me to come in and go, here's my money, just spend it for me, okay? And you guys
give me
do
my
all that.
results.
Yeah, so exactly. So I think
Up with
that,
the KPIs,
yeah.
yeah.
So I would like to see us make the application for the co-op program simpler and easier for those people who opt to go that way. So not only do they get, the voucher, but they also have an easier application, and we're encouraging them to spend the money that way. Because as stewards of the money, we are being the best stewards of the money by knowing that it's being spent well,
If I give somebody $10,000, tell me how that. We opt to give somebody $10,000
For their marketing plan that they've created.
they've given to us. We're going to give them $10,000.
Well, my opinion is they have a choice. They either say, this is how I'm going to spend my money, just like they always have.
Okay.
This is how I'm going to spend my money, and this is what I want. Or they say, wow, this looks like a great opportunity. I want to go for the co-op marketing plan, and it's still the same $10,000. Of course, they get the bump on it, but it's the same $10,000. But then if the committee funds them, then they go on, and after the funding fact, then they sit down with staff and say, what's the best way to spend this money to enhance my event the best.
That's why I think I'm lost.
This is
No.
on top.
This is in addition.
For free?
Yeah.
Well,
That's what I'm trying to, I'm
essentially,
sorry,
To them, there would be no additional cost for the co-op dollars, is how we decided to structure it. Present it to you, for you guys to decide how you want
Okay.
to structure it. So we thought, because when you look at some of these, like specifically the listings on the attraction, there will be some back-end costs, and right now we charge minimally if you buy into the co-op program for that. So there are values associated with those things that cost the VCB money, but not in a way that's easy to measure. But when you're looking at something like the inserts, obviously,
Right, there's a cost there.
Right, there is a cost. So, so there are several ways we could do it. We could subtract the money for the hard costs out of the program, because a lot of this will be brand marketing with us doing creative as well. We could find the money in the current marketing plan. Because as you know, the inserts we'll be doing anyway. We'll be offering them a special call out in it, but it's a 4-page insert that runs 4 times during the summer. And this, especially the event call outs, are the information people want to get. So I would suggest that the cash for the program remain the cash that's given out for the program. And the marketing, and I would be happy to provide a financial breakdown of exactly what it's costing the current marketing plan to add these partners in a way that's really adding content. But at this point, it would be out of the VCB's marketing budget.
But we did allude to increasing from 150, which is what we're currently allocating, to 200, or whatever you decide. She'll allocate 150 to their plans, and then that extra, whatever it is, if we do a budget increase, that's where this would be absorbed, the cost, Laura's associated with.
Colleen's question, I think the way I'm reading this is, let's say that puts them in the categories.
Right.
Let's say they put $10,000 is not a lot, puts them in the lower category. That means that she will give them $20,000 because they get
Yeah, but that would be.
$2,000.
They would be so
That's
happy.
what I like,
I was like, wow.
Renee, I like that math.
Especially if we're receiving it.
Getting 20% of the 10 that she's going,
But I know that
In
there's.
addition to the 10.
in
Correct.
addition to the 10.
But there's hard costs associated with what you're doing, like the Florida Weekly, those inserts.
Right.
So who funds that? The VCB?
Yeah, no, that $10,000. They still get the $10,000. We award them the $10,000 from our program.
Correct.
So it's a money shift for the VCB. So they're taking that $10,000 and $2,000 of it goes to the Florida Weekly program and $3,000 of it goes to the Facebook program.
Oh,
That's
No,
how I
that's,
see it.
that's what I'm.
No, we saw
See?
them giving the cash out of the 200, asking for an increase. Should we get the increase? And we thought about $30,000 should pay all hard costs associated with it. And then asking for that bump. But if that bump doesn't happen, yeah, VCB marketing funds. I would.
Sorry, so you're saying that you're gonna do, it's just gonna be like a package, the same thing for everybody?
No, not at all. I'm
No, I'm
saying.
not talking about the tier. I'm talking about like, everybody gets Facebook, everybody gets.
No. Everybody would have,
It would
thought
be- it would
exactly
be
what
a
you did.
okay.
That you met with
Okay.
us and
Okay.
we made suggestions. But everybody who you decide is awarded cash gets in addition to that, a percentage of what they're awarded in co-op.
Quickly with you when we get out of it.
Right.
In addition, as a bonus.
Correct.
Correct.
And if it's 30,000 a year or 50,000 a year, that's no money in the big picture with what we've been doing all along. So we just fund it.
So
Exactly.
currently, we're at 250. We would want to take that to 3? Or we're at 2 and want to take it to 250?
Well, we could take it to 3 and take
I'm
50,000
okay with that. I'm just trying to
and
make sure
give
that,
it
you know,
to, give it to Laura.
You and I are with the math. That's why I'm like,
We need to do that, though, from what I'm hearing. I don't think we need to do that. I think these ads are gonna be placed anyway. So regardless of whether we fund or not, you're spending that hard money anyway on these inserts, correct?
Well, yeah,
All
yes,
you're doing is-
except
For
some
that
of them
co-op
don't
pays
exist
for
right
it.
now.
Some don't exist.
Right.
and they would be funded through the co-op because hotels would take advantage of it. Yeah, the VCB isn't intending to pay for that. They're assuming that hotels and whoever would fund those through the co-op plan, correct? Or whoever,
Currently.
like,
Okay,
yeah,
so we just
currently.
launched the
On the co-op
co-op.
Right, so they're not, the VCB doesn't do those without, you have, to get in those, you have to pay.
But what happens
Well,
now with the
So
co-op?
so there's money.
So, I don't know. I mean, I've always had the philosophy, people don't come here to stay in hotels, they come here for events. So, I mean, to me, as a hotelier, I'd rather see some events advertised and, oh, by the way, like a hotel. I mean, I understand where you're coming from. I mean, this to me doesn't sound like a bad idea because you're not only giving this out, $10,000 to somebody, you're giving them in grand and kind of bonus things, but to help seed it a little bit further. And if you say the hard costs are $30,000, it's still promoting the destination as a whole anyway. So I don't see it as such a big problem. I think they come here.
When you go out to the beaches particularly, they'll come there just to spend a couple of weeks on the beach.
But okay, let me take the word back to events. They come for the attractions, they come for the events, they come for your beach, they come
Oh,
for
okay, so
whatever.
attractions, all right.
They come
gotcha.
for the experience. They don't come necessarily to stay at your
Yeah.
hotel or my hotel. They come for the experience. And I loop that experience into events.
Okay, I'm still confused. I thought that what we were gonna do was say, here's this $10,000. $10,000, you can either spend it as you always have, which, I don't know if you've ever looked at some of these ways that they spend it. We like the charity, but we don't like the way they spend the money. You know,
And that's why I think that they have to do it. Go ahead, continue.
Okay, so I thought that, you know, my thought was that we were gonna allow them to either take that money and spend it like they always have, which we don't think's great, but, you know, that still gives them the option, or they can opt to go with the co-op program and put that $10,000 into the co-op program and get the extra 20%.
We thought since the structure of giving now, as it is, will be benefited by working with us on the co-op and the introduction to these new things, that we want them to be able to continue being in charge of their own marketing while learning how we do what we do and how we do it. That was our thinking behind it.
They can do what they want, but they also are going to do this. And then they will.
Everybody will be given the co-op dollars, and everybody will be given a cash award. We just thought that structure would work moving down the line. But if, you know, it's up to you.
We have an interesting point. Don't we approve where they do some of this marketing? I mean, we don't want them doing it.
We do, and it doesn't make sense. Sometimes we approve it, and I just look at it going,
We
You're
also
just
have an
throwing
image
that
to
money
uphold.
away.
We have an image to uphold too. We don't we approve the content and everything.
no.
Because they're marketing Jazz Fest. They're not marketing Lee County Visitor and Convention Bureau or Beaches of, they're not, right now, it's their event, their marketing, their logo, their tagline, their colors, the whole 9 yards. Now what happens is this is an opportunity for them to utilize.
But you don't approve the ads that they,
Or the
Many of them.
placement, Or the placement. I mean, they
That's
can,
a
they go,
problem, I
yeah,
think.
I know. That's what I'm saying. I look at these apps and I go, oh, I love this organization. This doesn't seem like much money for them, but really you're gonna spend, you know, $20,000 in Jacksonville radio? You
We
know?
don't do that, but
I know,
we do
but-
limit, it's gotta be out of the three county area. A lot of them come in and they wanna advertise within our three county. There we hold the line. It's gotta be outside our three county area.
But Jeff,
seriously,
they
don't you look
do,
at some of the
Sand
spends and go-
Sculpting just did share their
the
ad.
content. that I'm-
They did share their content, and they
Protect
said,
the
does
brand.
this look good to you? And I said, I made a few suggestions, and I said, this would be better. And, you know, some of them do share after, you know, it's not like we allocate the money and we never hear from them again. Many of them stay in touch with us.
I would
Require-
think that it's important that we monitor our brand and make sure that our brand.
Well, we don't reimburse when they have to submit a request for reimbursement, and if it's not the way they said it would be in the marketing plan that you approved, we don't reimburse, and that's never happened.
Advertising in an offensive way to.
Absolutely.
cripple our brand.
But they're also, they're not branding us.
Well, but
Their money.
They may be
But it
They're
has to
still-
have,
they're
but it
still-
has to have
it's
our
still
logo
our
on it. It still
destination.
has to have the
It's
logo,
still
it has
our
to have the
destination.
logo on it. It's
Has
part
to
of the
be.
requirement, it has to have
Has
the
to
logo
be.
We got it.
on it,
Then
or
we
if it's
should be
radio,
looking
it
at
has
it
to
if your
have the
logo's
Beaches
on
of
it.
Fort Myers and Sanibel on it, yeah.
Still our brand.
Yep, absolutely.
Probably need to look at adding an approval process for any content, because if our logo's on it, I know
It
I
has
have.
to be on, it's it's a requirement.
Right, I forgot.
So
And that's
Laura,
more
let me
work,
ask
but
you
it's
this.
It's gonna be work for you.
Do you, is there, and I'm guessing that we could make this an option, like, say someone comes in, they sit down with you, and, you know, they kind of have, they've applied, and they had their marketing plan in place, and all of a sudden they go, wow, look how much more value I'm getting just for 20% of my you know, can I do some more of the co-op program? I mean, if there's anything left, because I know how it sells out, but, you know, I think that we need to apply, you know, have an option where they can take, you know, another $5,000 of that and buy more into
I
the
like that.
co-op program.
I think that makes good sense, that if they would, and we
And if
can
you're
always
educated-
add opportunities. We add opportunities to the co-op year round.
That come up every, yeah.
Oh,
middle-
gosh.
yeah.
Well,
Well,
we're
purpose-
hoping that it'll appeal to them. And
Yeah.
then the next year, they'll bump up the piece.
So I guess
that they
that's
want.
what you're saying is, you're not saying this is the way you have to do it, you know?
No.
It's like gently encouraging, look at the opportunities you
And look at
have.
the reporting you get,
and-
let's see how it works.
Yeah,
and-
yeah, really, I mean, I'm telling you, I would just go like, here's my money, just fix it for me.
I
you
would
know?
too.
I mean, how nice would that be?
Such a better deal that we're getting. I mean, we get the economies of scale through the agency that they could never get as a singular event. Yeah, it's
Same
really.
time, they would want to do what they do. Some of these guys do have a good plan, and
Exactly.
so that they have that little local, their little brochure is going to end up in somebody's store in Sarasota for art. Like, I don't know, but I think that some of the plans are good, because these events have been successful. Have the opportunity to do that mix, because these guys are big reach, and festival may not necessarily.
Yeah, I don't like
I like the
I tag
comp-
up with them. I don't advertise out of Florida ever, ever, for anything that we do, so, because I expect them to bring people to Florida for me.
I have two things for you.
Okay.
One is, where do you, I know that, like, when we give this $10,000 to these guys, a lot of them are spending that money locally, local printers, so we have to look at, if they're printing up things or that, we have to think about it. So we don't do that, though. Are our printers
We
local?
don't reimburse for that. When they,
Printing,
no,
and out of the market?
if they have to show me where it's going.
Right.
Right, yes, but they're not, yeah,
I'm just saying, I don't think, do we do anything locally here? Like, all our money goes out.
right. They sometimes will call and say, I've got a really good price on a radio spot that includes Sarasota and Naples, but the primary placement's in Tampa and Orlando, and of course, I'm gonna approve it. That's added value for them.
What I'm
So-
saying is
Like flyer printer.
Yeah.
anything local that we're taking, are we taking money that would have been spent locally to an outside, because you guys use big companies that are not local?
We use local printers as well. No, if it just needs to be distributed out of area, it can be printed anywhere.
The other thing I would say, and I'm not a hotelier, but this is very personalized touch, having access, and, because I do it for my membership. I have 900 members, but I only do it for those that have significant spend. But if you look at this, I'm Jeff Webb, how do I get that?
You
How
do.
do I, so I can come-
Everybody gets
How do
it.
I come meet with, like, I get this personalized plan set up by Laura the Queen.
Do this all the time,
But-
Colleen.
But you've got,
Ask for an audience with the Queen.
I'm just saying, like, they'll see this and
It's
say,
all
that's
right.
very
We
nice,
want
but
them
I'm
to."
actually paying for this out of my bed tax. Maybe I would expect you to be.
We do that all the time. I've met with 4 people this week.
Okay.
But the
I
co-op
mean-
program, if you say I want to be a part of it, you get that.
Yeah.
We're
Well,
actually one-on-one. That co-op plan is set up for the
No,
whole
no,
county.
no,
to-
no,
to-
we meet with
If
That's what I'm
I-
asking.
Yeah, no,
I'm
if
just
I
saying.
say, yeah, no, it's been a couple of years, but when I came in and said I want to do this, they said, well, how about this, what about this?
Yeah.
You know,
between
Well, what,
internally
using
or
this
Justin
photo?
or we'll meet with anybody. I mean,
Personalized
I've
plan.
literally, this week alone, I've met with 4 people. Before the co-op launched, I probably talked to 10 people a day on the phone.
We're here for the partners, yeah, that's something.
That's what, I just see
yeah.
this opening up. That's what's happened to me. It's become this whole can of worms.
It's a good problem to have.
It works in the long run. You just gotta, yeah.
And that everybody's engaged and everybody's on the same page. Yeah, well, look, yeah, if it gets to be a problem, we'll talk to you guys.
Yeah, another staff member.
But
Please.
may I visit the creative for a moment? I just wanted to let you know, in case you didn't know, we do have logo guidelines and standards that we make sure are met when we do reimbursement. So our logo is, and it's like a 17-page document. It's a pretty nice, sweet little document. Do we really, just questioning to make sure I understand clearly, do we really want to approve creative other than our own logo and logo treatment and placement?
What if it says, come get stoned at this festival?
I think you want to approve
Maybe a
content,
Stonecrest festival.
not
That's exactly.
design, per
saying.
se. You want to make sure nothing offensive is going to be taking the brand in a different direction.
And I would say we do that now. We had
That's
some.
that's
yeah.
the concern. Is
That
there-
should be the only concern.
It
If they
is.
started
Oh, yeah.
getting involved and
No, I don't
and
need you to look
reviewing,
more
and
about
you'd be
inappropriate
redeveloping
content.
everybody.
That's the
If
ultimate.
it's purple and green, I don't care.
Thank
It's
you.
just,
No, but
is it
inappropriate-
saying something like,
Thank
yeah,
you.
let's get stoned and.
Yeah.
At
And you know,
Stonewall.
we actually,
What
with
Hudson's
Zombie
bad, yeah.
Fest,
Yeah,
had
right,
that kind of
right,
concern.
right.
It was like,
Well, you know, it's not bad.
that I was very much in favor of that. I actually brought them in, but that could have been one of those that would have been questionable.
That's helpful, thank you. Okay, so, yes. No, I was going to just say, so we want to, for consideration for the next meeting to vote on, we want to, 1, consider losing dates. 2, consider changing key performance indicators that we require in reporting. 3, introduce the co-op as it stands, but the flexibility to add co-op programs as needed. We want to market the opportunity to be a part of this program more, yes, and we want to consider increasing funding. And did I hear any amount, or do you want us to come back with that?
I'd say 50. What are we, in bid tax, what are we up to now? 28, 30, what?
30, we're looking at maybe 33.
I think we could afford another thing. Go into this thing.
Or
We want to
more.
put some life into this thing. Let's
Or
put a little
more.
more money or more.
Well, just remember that we've not had more than 8 or 9 applicants the past few years. Now, we'll market the heck out of it.
You're going to get more
But-
this year.
You have
With
no
that-
idea
With
what
that
you're opening.
program of what you're doing, you're going to get
It's-
more.
Right, but
With the, excuse me. go ahead.
I will vote against. I just see that like being a can of worms unless we put some kind of a caveat on it that you get 20% of what anybody else gets,
If
not
it's
even of what you
children's
ask,
fund.
you know, of what, because it's seasonal. I just have a real problem with opening up like February and March because there are so many events that'll just say, oh, yeah, free money, yay, you know, and may not even need it, you know, and I just, and again, with the attractions, program, those coming to us then, because I'm not even sure how we would look at that at attractions. We keep them in there now because we know they can't come here, you know? We might kick them out and say, go over there, we have too many asks over here, you know? And those are established events that don't really need the money. I'm not really sure why we keep funding them, you know? So, you know, so I think that opening those dates when, you know, when we really need people in September and we really need people in July, you know, might not be a great plan.
perhaps
Good
the,
point.
perhaps the only, I agree, a bonus for those that are shoulder season, perhaps the only opportunity, if it's a peak season event, would be co-op. Would be.
Okay,
I-
no
I-
money, just go
for-
up.
Right.
Yeah, for your consideration, and I agree as well. What we've seen over the past year is specific events targeted very carefully and closely. And some of them were just marketing campaign events, and some of them were event events like Songwriters. And what we're seeing is that we are able to get the partners what they need when they need it. And this is the first year we have been so pointed and I think so effective in bumping every number, every KPI through this. So I agree, it may dissipate the results and certainly doesn't speak to all the successes we've learned this year. But it's obviously for your consideration, like you said.
That require a room night?
That's why there's so many more applicants, I think. It's,
The less restricted program.
Might not want to fund more for that program and more for.
I was just trying to find out what the difference is for, how do we keep Art Fest from coming over?
Yeah, if you open up the dates. Because it's not really an attraction. What we're funding for Art Fest does not really fall under the parameters of the attractions funding because we don't really fund events. We've just done it because it is so successful and it's just, and it's an art and the whole, it's an arts and
culture. And she's got a year-round initiative, you know.
I love it, I think it's a great.
No, it's a great event.
I'm just saying, but it sounds like those rules need to be looked at as well.
Yeah,
Because,
it's,
you know,
Tam and I just had a discussion.
or it
Well,
needs
you'd
to be
like-
kind of like Roy Hobbs, like, this is the deal, Art Fest is never gonna go away, look at the, you know, just set, here's the deal, that's your money, don't bother us, just give us numbers at the end so we know.
We looked at that once before. That's why we had signature or marquee events. Certain one, like sand sculpting was one of them. Successful every year. We want it to continue to grow. We
Right.
don't want it to go away. It puts
Countywide.
heads in beds. So we just make it a signature or a marquee. There are others, actually, that's my hot button. You know, I always talk about having another Spoleto like Savannah does, you know, or Charleston does. That's what we're trying to build, some of these things, and that's where I'd like to see some of our money go. If we could get some of those things going. Or in September, you have some event for a week that you have to go to Naples to get a room.
Exactly.
Because everything is
That's-
filled up and people come in just like Spoleto. I mean, you have to go to Savannah to go to Spoleto in Charleston to find a room, you know, for that, and it's like 3 weeks. I think that
Yeah,
thing
we're
goes
not
on.
like
Those are the kind of things that, signature events or marquee events, nickel and dime things. Come, they go. Matter of fact, I'm curious about why some of these things go belly up. Flash in the pan, one time Air Race Classic, 1 year, and I'm looking at 99 on. It was there 1 year and never came back. other one here.
It's an event that moves around the country, and I believe the discussion at the time was it was a niche audience, that they were coming into the destination and get page feel.
I think we all.
Isn't that the women?
Yes.
Yeah, we, and we
Women
always.
in
that-
women in
we-
aviation.
We knew that
Yeah,
event,
yeah.
that
We
event
put up the
moved.
pilots, but we didn't.
Right. It was,
It's too bad that.
It was $22,000 too. I mean, we spent on that, But some of these other things, the Echo Agricultural Conference.
now see, they get attraction money now. They
They-
did that
they've
event
moved.
1 or 2 years.
Yeah. Various theatrical productions at Edison. We had about 4 years, and then it went dry.
No, what they did now
No,
is they're going
there's an-
individually. Mary Poppins is on there. Now they're doing just individual shows.
They haven't been funded in 3 years, though. I
No.
don't know why.
Well, because
they-
in reality,
They're-
they're not non-for-profit.
Well, they were going through the foundation, right.
But that's not who was doing all that.
And they were doing it right up the road or something. We said they had to
Well,
have a
that's-
show that didn't perform.
That's what happened, is they got the funding, this is actually what they got, but they got more funding than the shows, but then a late date would come up in Tampa, and so they couldn't request those funds. So they didn't get those, like, we funded them, for Tampa, or we funded them for Miami we funded them for here, but they were only showing in Miami and Jacksonville or something at that time, and then they added Tampa, so they didn't get the funding, so that's what happened. And they didn't ask for it, which was, they came back to us and said, they're showing in Tampa, so we can't do this money.
May we show you a video?
Sorry?
May we show you
Oh,
a
sure,
video?
sure.
I don't
About
mean
how,
to-
why people go belly up?
Well, this is for those of you who didn't make the Songwriters Fest, and to your point, Renee, this was year one, and the ways it could grow and could encompass the water and the islands. It was named Island Hopper because we intended to cover the entire county by the time the VCB removes its funding in year 5.
Just volunteer.
I know. But I wanted to, for those who weren't there, I wanted to just give you a bit of what
Great event.
So year one business we are to do weekends, and I think it was a great start. So can you see this developing into something?
I'd like to see others as well.
Just a quick comment. I completely agree with what Renee said. I think we should funnel much more money into something that's going to be a county-wide signature marquee event as opposed to smaller events. I also think what is lacking, I don't mean to step on anybody's toes, is that we also need a promoter. guy or a woman, whatever person, to be able to create true signature events, to come into this town and it's a business, come up with an idea that's going to be a countywide event and put our energies in that district. And, what's happening from what I hear is there's a lot of people that do events, but they don't have that experience. Coordinators to do this kind of stuff, to bring, I don't know this event you're talking about in Savannah, but when
Musical thing that's been going on for about 100 years.
my 16 years in Key West and on the TDC down there and stuff, there was professional promoters that would come in and get people like Captain Morgan's Rum and get these sponsors to come do stuff. I think that's something that we should really try and look at, with a nationwide promoter.
I think it's a fine line. Charlie Bauer certainly did his own festival. He grew that from hand, and people came to look for him. I think the authenticity of the destination and a partnership that includes a local entities is critical to success. We've seen in events, I mean, you certainly have your Lollapaloozas where, C3 out of Austin comes in, they use everything in the town, and then they get out. But they create a huge bump. And then you see events like the Key West Songwriters Festival, which are grown locally, but with great partners like BMI out of Nashville, and they're talking to George Clooney's Rum Company. So I agree with you. I think I would keep an eye on the authenticity to the destination and making sure that local partners are empowered in the partnerships put together that we can help forge. I've seen a lot of Live Nations come in, and I think the community can benefit. I think what you gentlemen are picturing is exactly what needs to happen as well. I just want to see sustainable and responsible growth for the community in that, with an authenticity to product that is critical for its continued success. Does that make sense?
I agree with you. I mean, I think that
My 2 cents.
I completely agree with that situation, but I mean, there needs to be someone dedicated to do this all the time, and you guys don't have the time to do it. You need to almost have a czar who's in town that's an event czar, a festival czar, or something. And I'm sure there's people here locally that can do it, but somebody that's really challenged to, hey, let's find a signature event that's going to be, in 30 years from now, we're going to be celebrating the 30th anniversary. And Songwriters is definitely that type of animal. I mean, that's the thing that I think we want. That's another great
Maxed out now from capacity. I mean, it fill all rooms in Fort Myers. Didn't we one time, this is going back in memory lane, didn't we at one point steal from Key West the Ernest Hemingway?
Yes.
They did that down in Key West.
Yeah.
They do that every year, I think, and that's another big event, isn't it?
Yeah,
It fills
huge,
them.
huge event.
And for some reason, I think we tried to bring it up here.
We did have that. There was a local event, and it was pretty well done. But it was a part of something else. I
Is
can't
that what it
remember
was?
if Part of some other event.
I don't mind stealing from somebody else.
No, I'm the best pirate in the world.
I think
Let me ask you a question. I know that we've always talked about VC participation for 5 years in songwriters, and then but once it stands out, who runs it then? What's the thought?
Right now, iHeartMedia wants it. They want it. They're making plans to take it over. They want it to be as big as Spoleto.
Great.
Which is why I think with iHeartMedia,
That's
which is
huge.
the largest
Yeah.
media. Right. So that's why when I say putting together, crafting these strategic partnerships, they want it. Sherry has wanted it from the beginning. She's thrilled with the way the county is helping birth it.
Who?
But Sherry Griswold from iHeartMedia.
Oh, okay.
So that's the plan. Is they want it? They may want it sooner. They may get it sooner.
Okay. So I think that's kind of an answer. It's not the perfect answer to
No,
your
but that
question.
makes sense,
But see, it makes sense. So then now they go on to find the next one.
Correct.
So they're not trying to, 14 different events, but then they look around and they say, what else covers the county? What else can be one of these events, and how can we start that and then turn that over to Captain Morgan Rum or whatever.
That's
That's
what I'm
exactly
talking
the
about.
plan. That's the strategy, in that we went in with our fall campaign funding dollars, told Clear Channel, we will give you this buy to make out of market. You'll put in market for free for us because we don't spend in market. And in return for this partnership, you will raise sponsors to pay for production. So they look like rock stars with a huge ad booking across the rest of the country. They threw in so much added value that they were such generous sponsors and supporters, and they raised all the production funds. So So it's a nice little partnership, and they know we're 5 years, we're out of it. We think that's what it'll take to grow it, and then the biggest media company in the country has this little festival.
We'll still oversee it.
No, we won't be there at all.
So,
Unless you, why, do you want us to be?
Well,
Oh, you'll be moving on to
as the keeper
something
of
else.
the brand, as the
Exactly.
keeper of the brand, you want to make sure that it doesn't get so big that they say, let's move it to Naples.
Well, you know what, this is a good thing to discuss, because we see us as birthing it and then moving on to come up with the new thing. And that we've helped create a business.
And different times of the year.
Right, and that, then we're out, right?
Who would run it? I'm sorry.
Clear Channel Media.
Okay.
I think you still need to be, you may have a CEO, but you still want to be chairman of the board. I still think you need to have you want to make sure you're protecting this thing you build without having to run it.
the marketing.
Well, actually, no, what Laura's saying, it gets to the point where VCB doesn't fund it anymore.
Right.
They're out.
Which means it could
So
move
then the
anywhere.
TDC is out too.
Or which means it could grow to encompass all of Southwest Florida regionally, which may or may not be. You can't take away the beauty we have in this destination. We've got now 78% repeat visitation rate. When people come here and explore here, they're going to come back. I don't think if it's real, I would argue, if it's real, it can grow, and it can grow too large, and it can be mismanaged, but they can't take it away from us.
Oh.
Yeah, it could happen. I mean, it certainly happened.
It's going to destroy, it'll implode, it'll destroy itself.
I mean, just like a parent lets his kid go off to college, you're still overseeing a little
I
bit,
really
you
like
know,
this
so.
model. I like what may come and what we may be able to help develop next.
I think it would have to be contracted. I think you'd have to protect yourself. You may not have to run it, provide the volunteers, but it's yours.
Pay for it.
We paid for it, we built it.
They want to lease it out.
Well, there's a contract that they get to use our logos that we built and protect, and it can't go outside of Lee County, and it can't, those things would have, or you can't use it. You
Is
keep
that
it.
what you guys, is
I
that
think
what you want?
I would like
as
to
the
see it.
committee?
And trust whoever's next. Who you're working with now is not who you may be working with 10 years from now. You don't know who these people are. They could just be hungry.
We might be premature on this. I'd like to see it get that big and then have this discussion, but.
I think it will.
But I do think that it's something to really kind of keep on the back burner, that instead of just turning it over, that there needs to be another conversation about whether that's the right option, you know? So I think that you know, in theory, it sounds like a great plan, but I really think practically it might be something that needs further discussion when we get to that point.
So like year 3, we have a check-in meeting? Does that sound good?
No, I think you need to check in meeting before that. You want to be proactive, not reactive.
Well, no, they're still in charge. I mean,
I know they're still in charge, but as you said, it could be sooner. I think
No, we would, obviously, we would never do anything
this
without the
conversation will come up when you least expect it, and you need to be in mindset.
So we should, once a year, you could tell us.
No, we need to have a policy at a different meeting about what we want to do with these events. And it shouldn't be, it's too much to talk about now.
But honestly, it will come up in events every year as long as we still have it, and when we don't have it, it'll have to be it'll have to come up in conversation unless it just doesn't work. I mean, that's the only reason it wouldn't. And obviously, that's not happening this year.
I think it would be good also, you know, as you mentioned, last time we had one of these meetings was 20. Sit down and just kind of review where we are before the cycle starts to see. Yeah, the last I looked, the Woody Peak was on the last one. People change.
Was I here? I don't remember this.
No, you weren't on the list. You didn't make the cut.
I could go there, but I won't.
I have one other comment too. I know that we don't market or do anything within the area locally, but I do think there needs to be some education, not to those in the industry, but our local residents about what these events are all about. I'm a big believer that this is our hometown company, and that's every citizen has a vested interest in the hometown company. So I think more information about what these events are like, whether that be through our events on the television and the newspaper, whether we really utilize the Go Coastal section to really start pushing as much as we do everywhere else, what it is to do locals so that they can again be ambassadors for everybody else. I think
Agreed.
that
Well, and
happened.
we were so lucky. We had both Wink and Fox and NBC2 out every day of Songwriters Broadcasting. They were such great partners and had a blast doing so. And so, yes, then thank you. And we know this is
That should
important.
really be
And
pushed.
The other part of this is I know
Educated locally.
the staff,
absolutely.
Or your
It took-
policy.
I get it, that you guys all had to work all weekend, but I think you need to look at volunteers. Depending on where you are, plus there's probably.
We actually got volunteers from FGCU and from local high schools because we understand the importance of like letting kids see live music if they haven't before, because then they like it and then they want to work toward it and in it. So we plan to continue to grow the volunteer base. Thank you. Absolutely.
A lot of energy to do a lot of jobs.
Exactly.
A lot of hospitality out schools out there in this county.
Exactly.
And when we're cranking down, they're cranking
They
up.
were great.
Wherever you do it, the chamber always has volunteers. If you're in Fort Myers Beach, he's got volunteers. You're like wherever you are, and those people would love to be. Guess what I'm doing this weekend?
Thank you. Yes.
But there's people like that Alliance for the Arts, the artists. Like there's opportunities that we could. I saw you guys everywhere I went that weekend. And, I got to go because I'm going over here. I'm going to meet, Laura's got the car. We don't know where she is, but we're going up. Yeah.
We learned a lot.
But that's,
So, yeah, but outreach, the public outreach component on so many levels is critical.
Was one of them a lot more golf carts?
You know, it's the connectivity was the big issue in talking to each other, both on Fort Myers Beach and on Captiva. Sometimes you could text. The radios didn't work. Sometimes they
Captiva, yeah.
Captiva's the worst.
Yeah, you can't text
For
from
some
there.
reason, it's got a
giant
terrible
flag.
reception.
which is
The couple on
Huge
Sanibel
tower
was saying
sitting
that.
right over there, you know.
Yeah, like right in front of the Dairy Queen. There's one in the
I
back
think
of
it's
Little
the
Golf.
sun.
Lazy Flamingo completely.
When you're
dead.
cutting through.
I think it's intentional. You're supposed to relax and
Yeah, right?
not text and call on Captiva.
This is why we're still garnering social impressions. We had a goal of 30 million social impressions.
We'll hit it.
And, yeah.
Did you say we're 48?
We're just, my guess is that we're at 30 right now. I'm just
30,
leery to
okay.
say it until I see the report. But I would guess we've hit over 30 million.
That's amazing.
And people are still
So
talking.
where are we? Seem to be in pretty much agreement with the exception of the dates that we. Maybe if we have enough caveats, everybody will be happy. Or leftover money, some of it can go to in-season. If we use up everything else, then.
It's just my other concern is, it's not easy to do these applications and do all the work and fill them out and everything. And, and so once you do all that and you turn that in and the expectation is you'll get something, and we're giving the priority to all this, which is my choice, giving the priority to the September and July and June events. And, but then somebody's done all this work and they're like, really? So I think, yeah, so, yeah.
Clearly.
But I also don't want to be unfair to those people who,
Well, if there's an opportunity, does the attractions, maybe I need to know more. Do they fund new stuff?
yeah.
Then maybe that's what it says. I just don't want to lose the opportunity for anything. For somebody smarter than us, no idea.
I would really appreciate an education on how this
Not really.
attraction event does. And, I think, you know, I think it's a great idea. And 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 I
Yeah, we haven't,
And the traction running, how that works, I'd love the education.
What I can do is share.
And their thought policy of how they funded it.
And there are a bunch of them.
yeah, because like Kevin has, there's several TDC members aren't really familiar with the program, so that's probably a good idea.
Yes.
So many of them are learning more about how they come up. That's the problem with having so many of these are going to have meetings.
And it's even more difficult to work with them because, at least in the events program, we have some people that are business people. In the arts and cultural program, we have a lot of artsy people, and it's like, you know, so.
Loosey-goosey, yeah.
It's,
Well, one
some
of-
this stuff is very creative. you
One
know,
of their,
so-
and one of their concerns has been that the city of Fort Myers contributes to that pot. We put $250 in and they put $25,000 in. And there are several attractions from other communities, and why aren't other communities putting
Participating.
anything in? So I've been tasked with asking the city of Sanibel or the city of Cape Coral, would you like a seat? They actually said if you contribute to the pot like the city of Fort Myers, you can have a seat in the room on the review committee. And this is new. I don't know that
Well,
I even
actually,
told
that
you
was
that.
originally, no, that was the, Will did that originally. when
But I don't know
we
that the
did
city
this,
of
but they
Bonita
didn't
and
get-
the city of
yeah,
Cape Coral and the
so,
city
yeah.
of Sanibel have been reminded that that opportunity is available, and there's more and more applications coming from all of those municipalities. Fort Myers owns the majority. That 200,000 of that money goes within the city limits, attractions within the city limits. So it's not been a big deal, but
I wonder if, you know, because it comes out of that arts and cultural funding thing that the city has, I'm sure that's the other.
yes, yes.
And so it may be a presentation during that funding process that I don't think we did that before. I think we just went to the cities and said, hey, guys, how about
Right.
the money? Maybe, you know,
Yep.
an actual presentation and how the money's spent and where it goes and how much Fort Myers gets. They put in 25, but they get this much.
Right.
You know, that
Yep.
that it might be a better.
It's on our list moving forward. So, but thank you, Jeff. You're right. I should update you, and so you can see who got what, because there's some interesting
When is
new
that meeting?
attractions. Well,
I wanted to learn more, so
Yeah.
so
what would I want to attend? The
we
funding meeting?
Well, they haven't done a workshop for applicants or anybody in 2 or 3 years. So we're going to have a workshop in March, and they review the applications in August.
Okay.
There's a check presentation on November 14th at the Alliance for this year's applicants. The difference is they don't have to wait to get reimbursed. They get their money as soon as the fiscal year opens. I take care of getting a check to the community foundation. So that's the other appeal to that program. They're not waiting. That's why we don't. If we administered it, they'd have to wait to get reimbursed. When we shifted it to the community foundation, we issue them a check as soon as the year's open. It's upstairs right now, and they cut a whole bunch of checks. And there's a ceremony. I can invite you to the ceremony if you'd like, but because Tam can't be there, so I do need. I was going to ask you, a TDC member, to be at the check presentation. But so I apologize. We should be keeping you better informed on that program. So we'll move forward. We will.
Still put out that list like you used to of qualified attractions.
No, that list predates me, Renee.
Oh,
You-
does it? Okay.
You've got a
Yeah,
lot
see,
of
when
good
you-
stuff in
You know
there.
what's great about when you don't have a date on it?
I've seen that list, but no, I've never done
That one
that.
probably still has the Children's Science Center. on
Yes,
it.
yes, it does. It does. It does. Yes.
At the Imaginary?
Yeah, I
now?
remember
No,
thinking, no,
it
no,
doesn't
that was the
exist.
Children's Science Center, that was in North
It
Carolina.
is- and it's-
No, I remember how old that list is, that's how I know that. And I think they closed down like in
Yeah.
99.
It echoes on here too from North Fort Myers.
They're
Cayo
still
Costa
around. They're
State,
still getting
USEPA
better.
Museum. Yeah. Tell you what. Yeah.
We may need that kind of a list again, because we're getting,
Some people who are not qualified.
well,
Okay.
yeah, I mean, yeah. There's,
All right.
so, anyway, unless you have questions, again, if you can think of anything, Laura, do you have anything else? Anybody, Lorelei? We appreciate your time this morning. It's important that this program is doing what you want it to do, and we feel like some of the things that you heard today will make it better, not only for the applicants, but for you as far as getting, a true ROI on, it's not, may not be room nights, but the impressions are just as valuable, the sharing. Most importantly, educating them on new ways of marketing their product.
It's really easy if we could just do it by likes, right?
Right. Well, thank you again. We appreciate it.
Thanks.
We have a stamp if you need to have your tickets.
Great job.
Coming.